So at the beginning of the show, you might have heard I played this.
Hey!
Now, you might know what that is if you're a longtime listener. You might have heard that before, but most of you are probably like, what was that guttural sound? That was Paula White. Paula White is one of Trump's quote-unquote faith advisors, right? She's also a televangelist. She preaches this fake prosperity gospel, you know, God wants us to be rich and all that, even though there's that thing in the Bible about it's easier to pass through the eye of a needle than for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter heaven. But of course, that's all. It's that part. It's that part that's just metaphor and you're not supposed to take literally, right? Everything else, like, you know, if it's something about it, you know, that's anti-gay or whatever, that you're supposed to take literally, but not the thing about rich people. No, God actually wants you to be rich. And Paula White also is married to Jonathan Cain of Journey. Well, here's the latest from Paula White. Oh, so that was Paula White speaking in tongues. That's what that terrible sound is.
Hey!
I've actually tried to do that myself. I think it would be fun to be able to speak in tongues. Oh, I hear a whole bunch of sirens. There's a bad accident somewhere. I'd like to be able to be like, Ma, Mama casa, you casa, si casa, blah, 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 whatever. I think that would be impressive. Wow, it's loud out there, those sirens. Well, this is from rightwingwatch.com. Paula White has new White House job and new book, and she says that God used her to get Trump elected. I don't know if y'all know this, but the deity, God, is very, very pro-Trump. Says here, just 2 weeks before it was revealed that President Donald Trump's spiritual advisor, Paula White, had officially joined the White House staff, White's most recent book became the latest evangelical offering to portray Trump's election as part of a divine plan. Well, that's very exciting. Can you imagine? It's part of a... White is a prosperity gospel preacher who tells supporters they can access divine blessings by sending money to her ministry. Speaking of something that should not be a business. But it is. Yeah, I don't know if y'all knew this, but religion is organized religion is a business. And business is good, especially in the Trump era, where we have the godliest of presidents, Donald John Trump. Her new memoir, Something Greater, Finding Triumph Over Trials, seems designed to humanize White by emphasizing the challenges she has faced in her life, and I'm sure she's had it tough, and to portray herself and her relationship with Trump as part of God's plan to help the U.S., quote, live out its holy calling on the earth, unquote. The timing of the book's release, a year before the 2020 election, is certainly no coincidence. So the article goes on to talk about her book and whatnot. And by the way, I know some of you are skeptical and you think I'm mocking, but I'll just remind you of something, a personal experience that I had. And then we'll end with this because we do have to wrap up in a second. But, I had a dream, and maybe it was a dream. I don't know. It might have been a dream, but if it was a dream, it was the most vivid, real dream I've ever had. I dreamt that I died in my sleep, and St. Peter came to visit me and take me to heaven. And he took me to the pearly gates, and he brought me in. He said, "It's your time, Matt. It's your time. I know you got a radio show to do, but it's your time." And he brought me in, and he brought me into God's office. And of course, God had this big golden desk that he sits at. And behind God, there was a giant American flag, because we are God's favorite, and a giant portrait of Ronald Wilson Reagan, President Ronald Wilson Reagan. And then off to the side, and I'll never forget this, off to the side of God's desk was a big life-size cardboard cutout of our president, Donald John Trump. So I believe it. I believe. I know I sound like I mock him. Trump, I mean, not God. I would never do that. I know I sound like I mock Trump. But I believe in Trump. Underneath it all, it's all done with affection. I believe in Trump. And why? Because I know that God believes in Trump. Yes. Well, let's try to remember that this Veterans Day weekend. I don't know quite how to wrap up that bit, but I do enjoy, I have a lot of fun making fun of these prosperity gospel people because, and by the way, if you're new to the show, just so you know, all these televangelist types like Paula White and Jim Baker and all these mega church people, I personally am convinced that they are atheists, that they actually don't believe in God at all. Because if they did believe in God, they would be terrified to do what they do and treat religion as a business. Because I did go to a Catholic school from grade 2 to grade 8, and I do remember the story in the Bible where excuse me, where Jesus went into the temple and he saw the money changers, as I think they're called in the Bible, you know, the merchants selling stuff in God's house. And I believe it is the one instance in the Bible of Jesus violently losing his temper and actually started turning over the tables in anger because these people were selling things in his father's house. And so if these people like if Paula White actually believed in God, would she not be terrified of enriching herself, so to speak, in God's name? Wouldn't she be afraid that there might be a little something called judgment at the end of her life? So these people don't believe in, and I don't believe Trump actually believes in God either. I think he's, because whenever Trump, it's actually hilarious. Whenever Trump attempts to discuss his quote unquote faith, it is so cringe-inducingly awkward that it's like, oh, come on, he can't even fake it convincingly. He's just so full of poop. We'll use a nice word to end the show. Okay, so we got to wrap up, but just quickly, I want to get to these comments. Mike Pelopita says, very passionate show today. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Brian Mackey says, love the read, Jenny. Have a great weekend. Very nice. Mike Pelopita says, do it, Matt. Michael Albert says, just to clarify, I'm not opposed to, I'm glad I saw this comment. Just to clarify, I'm not opposed to doctors making a profitable living on their profession or even for-profit hospitals, but I think that our system of health insurance is unethical, where you basically have investors betting on people not getting sick. Point taken, Michael, point taken. I'd like to dive into that more next week, and hopefully you can, hopefully you're in the chat room for that. Veronet March says, it is. That's why I'm not involved in organized religion. Oh, referring to my comment about religion being a business. Tithing to be considered pious. Tithing, of course, when you give some of your money to the quote-unquote church. Brian Mackey says, LOL, yeah, right way to end it. Thank you. Mike Pelopita says, yes, poop. Yes. Well, it's a great word, is it not?